Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Fit Chicks Chat. My name is Laura Jackson.
I'm Amanda Quinn.
I feel like I'm far away from my microphone.
I
I
can
gotta
hear
be like
you.
old school like this.
Yeah.
um, Welcome, everybody. I feel like it's been a hot minute since we have been on together. And I'm excited to be here because we're having one of our conversations today that we have a lot offline, and we thought it'd be really fun to bring it online. Um, and that is about vision,
The vision,
the
the
vision.
bigger, deeper conversations, the probably most important conversations that you can have in business, in life, in general.
Mhm.
Understanding where you're actually going and where you want to go, and knowing that that can change and shift at any time.
Well, and this all, so to give you guys some context around this, so I guess it would be like about a month ago, um, I was looking at our planning and I was like looking at, maybe it was a little longer than a month ago, but I was looking at, all these things that we were doing for the rest of the year and all the programs that we have and all the certifications that we have. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, what are we actually building here? And it's
Mhm.
funny because when we first started Fit Chicks in 2008, before we had a boot camp, before we picked practice a workout, before we even had our name, we had a vision of what we wanted to create. We didn't know how we were going to do it, right? We didn't know the exact steps. We didn't know how to run a business. We never had before, but we didn't let that freak us out. But we had this vision of creating a women's fitness empire. And when we said that, it was like, oh, we're going to help women from around the world, like fall in love with fitness, fall in love with their own health. Everyone has an inner fit chick inside. We're going to have retreats and we're going to have locations across the country. And we're going to have Chick Feed, which is going to be our food line that's going to be in all of the Costco's, like healthy frozen pre-made food and protein bars. And we had this idea for like make your own granola snacks. And
We
we
have
just like,
books and everything.
yeah, like books. And we just played in this land in our mind of what we wanted to create. And it felt so good and it felt so real. So when we started creating Fit Chicks Boot Camp, that vision already existed. So it was almost like we were just bringing it to life. And again, there were things we didn't have a timeline. Like there are some things we have not done yet, like chick feed and things like that. But we actually did in our own like little like behind the scenes. We have our recipe books and things like that within our programs. But we didn't have it in the mainstream. We didn't have a New York Times bestseller. We didn't have all this stuff. But it was like that vision of everything we were doing was for a bigger picture and a bigger purpose. It was never like, oh, we only have 5 people in this workout, or we only have 2 locations right now. It was like, okay, we have two. Great, we're on our way to 20. You know what I mean? Like it was rooted in this vision. So then 2 months ago, I had this moment, and I don't know if it was a God moment. I don't know what it was. It was like, Laura, what are you doing here? Like, it stopped me. And I was like, I feel like we don't have a direction right now. Like, we still know what we stand for and what we're doing, but we don't have something the way we did 16 years ago that we're kind of striving toward, not even striving towards, like, just what we're doing this for. What is the purpose of all of this? Why do we want to do this? And you have to think too, we are now 45, 46. We started this at 28 and 29. So, the vision changes and also our business has evolved over time. So I
Well,
like
I think
message
if you
Amanda, I'm like,
evolve, everything evolves, right?
everything evolves. It's like you have to, like everything. We'll talk about that like in a moment. But, I called Amanda and I was like, we have to have a meeting and literally we cannot talk about anything else we have to do. We have to just talk about why we're doing this. What is the vision that we want for this? What are we contributing to the world? What are we creating and why are we creating this? And again, we know that we knew it, but I couldn't see the vision anymore. So the last 2 months have been this conversation with us behind the scenes of, you know, put away all of the hows and what's possible and like what we know what our current skill set is, and let's just talk about what we want to create and what's our contribution to the world. So that has been a really fun conversation. We thought we should have this conversation with you guys too, because not only number one, to share with you what we're doing, but number two, to encourage you to actually take a step back and out of your day to day and look at why am I doing all of this, right? We get in this motion where it's go, go, go. And then we're like, I've worked so hard. I've created all these things. I have this family. I did it, but why? Why am I even showing up every day? Right.
Yeah, I
And
think
I
what
think it's really
happens
important
too.
that we connect back to that.
Yeah, and I think what happens too sometimes when you lose the why, when you lose the direction, that's when you start just like layering more and more things on, which is what we were doing. And also you start losing the connection between them. Like there's like a disconnect. And I don't know if anyone listening has ever felt that way, but it's like we're like, okay, well, I could just do this and it'll make me money, or I could do this and it can make me money, or I could do this and it can make me money. And it's like we know that we could put out a million different things and they can make us a million different dollars, but that's not the bigger purpose of it. And that's the conversation that we had. And that's, I think, the conversation that we want to inspire for you to really think about, even having it with yourself, having it with your partners, having it with your team, whoever is listening. It's having the conversation of, okay, but if I do this, what's the point behind it? What's the reason? And does it align with the bigger thing? Because if it doesn't align with the bigger North Star, the bigger vision of where you're going, it doesn't need to be there. That's really the
Yeah.
question. And that's big. That's
Well,
been the question that we've been having constantly. Is just, okay, what does this look like? And where are we at in our personal lives and in our professional lives? And where do we want the business to go? And what is the impact that we want to create? And what is the driving force behind this that makes us get up every day and sit in our offices and like work our butts off to
mhm.
create? But why are we doing it?
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, it's so interesting because even when I ask, I talk a lot about goals, right? Like I love talking about goals.
Yeah.
The goals are just a tool to help to bring your vision to life, right? So a goal of having 100 clients or a goal of having a fitness, 20 locations across the country, which would essentially our first goal, right? That goal, though, is a tool to show you where you are now against where you want to go to against your vision, right? Does
Mhm.
that make like, I hope that makes sense
Yeah.
to you guys. So it's like, even with weight loss, right? So people have this vision, like, I want to run around with my grandkids. I want to feel confident in my skin. I want to feel strong, right? That's the vision. Like, so that's why even with weight loss coaching, it's like, go to the place of like, what do you, your future self, like, what do you want to look like? What do you want your life to be like? And then we
Mhm.
back that up into a goal, which is like, okay, I want that is 50 pounds, right? And then the 50-pound goals just gives you a tool to show you and direct your brain, okay, if I want to get to this measurable, then this is what I need to do with my nutrition, my habits, my mindset. It's the same with business, right? But a lot of people, they're just like, I want to make $10,000 a month. They don't do
Yeah.
the vision work first to even know what it is. So they're not emotionally connected to that goal as it is. And they make the goal the emotion. So then they get all worked up, like, oh, well, I have made only $10 this month. I'm not good enough. I'm not this. Instead of being like, yes, I made $10 towards my vision. Like my vision is to be self-employed, to, run my
Be
days, to be able
financially
to
free. Yeah.
exactly, right? Like, so without the vision, it's like the goal doesn't have the emotional charge for you to actually really want it. And that's where
And
it's funny because like when we talk about all the stuff that we have so many goals, but it was like, and again, I think because we're so obsessed with women's health and helping women and coaches that we're like, yes, we can offer this certification and we could do this and this would be so amazing. But then it's like, is that part of our real vision? Like, yes, it's amazing and it will help so many coaches and it will help so many people. But what we're really here meant to do, what we're here to contribute, is this certification the thing?
Mhm.
People always ask us too, why don't we coach in business more? And I'm like, because I don't think that that's what I'm meant to do right now. That's not my vision for my life.
I think
Maybe
too,
down the
like,
road.
yeah. I think too, like when you think about like a goal versus a vision, it's like goals are just not rooted in anything. That's the problem, is that goals are just they're set as like a milestone or a marker, but people make them out to be the vision. Like, oh, my vision is to have $10,000 a month. But that's just like a marker towards you have to have something that elevates past the financials, past the number of classes or programs or offers or opportunities that you have. There, that is like the stuff that's like it's not rooted in something big. If it's not rooted in something bigger, it's just a milestone, it's just a marker. Versus if you have a vision of like, I want to be able to contribute to the world and help 10,000 people change their health. That's the vision. The vision becomes now, I want to help 10,000 people. So then if you help 5 people, then it's working towards that 10,000. It contributes to that bigger vision. And that's where I think people get mixed up, is like they make the $10,000 a month matter more than the bigger vision, or they haven't even thought
Or
about
they,
that piece.
well, they jump in at the goal, right? So, like I was saying, it's the same with
Yeah.
weight loss. But without that emotional charge, you won't have, because I always say emotions are like fuel, right? They're the
Yeah.
fuel in your tank. If you don't have an emotional connection to something, that goal will lose its luster really quickly. Because you're going to be
Well,
like,
yeah,
okay,
think
great, I
about weight
want
loss.
10,000 bucks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
want 10,000 bucks a month. And then you're like, you're not going to have enough fuel to keep going when things get hard. Or like the 50-pound
exactly.
weight loss. You're not going to have, if you have this vision of running around with your grandkids, of living till you're 95 and like being fittest grandma, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is for you. If you're just like, oh, I'm overweight, I hate my body, I need to lose weight. If that's your rooted goal, you don't have enough of an emotional charge because there will be a point where you're going to plateau. There will be a point where it's getting hard, right? So for
There will be a
us, it's
point
like,
too where you feel overwhelmed or you feel frustrated or things like that. And it's so much easier to back away from a goal than it is from a vision.
yeah. And like for me, the thing I want to say before we start talking about like what our conversation was, I think a lot of people get really mixed up though with a vision that it has to be this big, huge contribution to the world, right? Like I want to
Yeah.
cure hunger, like world hunger, which would be amazing. But for me, that's not number one, what I believe I've been called to do and my mission is, right? So that doesn't necessarily resonate with me the way it would with somebody else. But also, it doesn't need to be about anybody else. I remember you and I were at a conference and it was about
Mhm.
there's kind of two things that are happening with your vision. It's about the person who you are becoming and the contribution to the world, right? So your vision literally could just be that you want to be financially free because you want to show up in your life in a certain way, or you want to be the healthiest version, or you want to build a business because you want to prove to yourself you can. And like that vision is you having all these clients and it's amazing, right? And then we quantify that with a goal. What's that number that's going to create that for you? Right?
Mhm.
So it's like it doesn't need to be this big thing about get abstract about changing the entire world. It literally can be something that's like, I have a vision of opening a fitness empire. Like that was ours.
Yeah.
That
And
got
it
us like
still
something that
is.
would help women from around the world.
Mhm. Yeah. No, and I agree with you. I think that we put a lot of emphasis on the vision has to be very humanitarian driven, or it
Yeah.
has to be something that is driven from a place of like pure, like massive impact to the world, but it could just impact your world. It can impact your family. It could impact your community. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be this like massive, grandiose act of service. It can be something, whatever it rings true to you. But I think the biggest thing, and I actually just had a call with one of our graduates the other day, and I was talking about this, and I said, you know, one of the biggest things that you need to do is just be authentic to yourself about that. Don't
Mhm.
try to make your vision, don't try to make your creation, don't try to make your program, don't try to make any of these things something that doesn't align with actually who you are and what you actually want to do, because it won't it won't matter then. It won't make sense, right? So if your vision, if you're creating your vision or you're thinking about, well, what is my vision? And you're like, well, I feel like it's not big enough, or I feel like that's not, giving back enough, or any of those things. And if that's like your own self-judgment, because your vision doesn't have to be about anything more than what you need it to be. And that can change. Your vision can change and evolve. And like our vision has evolved and changed over the
Mhm.
years in some ways. And it's interesting, I say in some ways, because there's still, when you think about the foundation of what we said, which is we want to create a fitness empire, it's like we
Yeah.
created a health coaching empire, right? And we want to continue to build and grow that hasn't changed, but the how and the whys behind it have changed slightly,
Well,
and that's okay.
and this is what's so interesting, right? Like human beings, we feel our best when we are connected to each other, when we are
Yeah.
creating things, and when we are contributing. So, a lot of people who, when you feel, lost or you feel stuck or depressed or whatever, if you take a step back and look at, how much am I actually creating versus consuming, and like how much am I contributing, right? So, which is why I love business, because then we're doing all of those things. We're creating, we're contributing, and we're connecting. But it's like sometimes those things, though, you're doing it like for us. Perfect example. I love our business. I'm more than happy with the way that everything is. I absolutely love it. But it's still not I believe, the contribution that I am meant to be making. So, and not that I need to be doing something
Same.
totally different. It's like it's on this path, but the only way to find the path is to try a bunch of things to be like, yes, no, right? Like it's like when we opened way back in the day, we
Zumba.
had exactly. We had like our boot camp, and then Zumba became really hot, right? So we're like, oh, everyone's interested in Zumba. We
We
should
should offer
really add, we should offer Zumba. So we had this like boot camp Zumba, and then we also had a boot camp yoga, like a G.I. Jane meets Gandhi. And it was like, we had all these things, but it wasn't rooted in what we really wanted to do. We started with our vision of the fitness empire, and then it was the boot camp. And we literally should have just stayed focused on duplicating that boot camp to as many locations as possible. And we got to 20. But instead, we started getting like, it's like these other, they're great ideas, but those ideas will move you away from that vision. So suddenly we're like dispersing all of these ideas and trying all these things. We wouldn't have known we didn't want to do them if we didn't try it. But it's also that, right? When you're not having the conversations regularly about why am I doing this, you keep saying yes to things or adding things that you think are going to be the thing that's going to push you forward. And it's not, they're just distractions from your main goal. Because the thing is, once you have a very like main vision, it's kind of boring because you're just going after the same thing over and over again, right? And if you're
Mhm.
creative people and as human beings, we love to create, we love to connect, we love to contribute. So I love creating stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, like I can't wait to launch this new certification or this other thing. We're like deeply rooted though, what I truly think my contribution to the world is not, it's partly those things, but not those things. So
Yeah.
it's just like, you know what I mean? It becomes like very, and it's hard because it's like saying no. A lot of times we think that we have to have these big failures before we have the success. I actually think we have to stay focused to not get into the little contributions to stay focused
Well,
on our
think
big one.
about, well, even if you think about our journey to where we are today, the amount of things that we said yes to that we knew were not in alignment with our bigger goal until we learned the lesson of like, we used to ask ourselves, and we went through a period of time in our business where we'd say, does this help us get to this? Right? It does, is this, and if it's not a yes, then it's a no. Right. And it's like it was so much easier when you have a vision of where you want to go. It's so much easier to say no because then you're like, you literally are weighing it against, if I say yes to this, does it actually help me reach, if it's $10,000 a month, as the example, if it's like, is me doing this free event going to help me reach my $10,000 a month goal, right? But that's a goal, sorry. So your vision is to help 10,000 people. I would say yes to that because it's like, oh, you're probably going to reach new people. You'll have more people in your community that can maybe then join your programs that help you reach that goal. But if it was something that was completely like, you're just like, oh, I'm going to promote a protein bar, that doesn't align with you actually helping 10,000 people in your program. So it's easier to
Yeah.
see, to navigate the yeses and nos when you're very clear on your vision. And like we went through, there's so many things that we did in our business that were like the Zumba or the yoga, where we're like, did that actually align with like the bigger vision? We didn't really know at the time how to align it, right? Whereas even now in our business, there's things that we're doing where we're like, now that we're getting refocused on the vision and we were like, okay, let's have this like, huge conversation about this. Now we know, like we have clarity on what is a yes and what is a no, what is going to happen and what is not going to happen. And now it gives us
Well, I
more
feel like
freedom. More,
I feel like this is why it's interesting to have this conversation now. We're going to be talking about this a lot more over the next little while as we're going through this process because we're going to have some things that are going to be closing. We're going to have some things
what I was
that
going to
we
say, we're in
offer
that place.
currently. Yeah. And we're going to have some things we're going to be adding. And but it's interesting because I still don't feel like we have 100% clarity. Like we have the vision, but we don't have now that quantifier, which is the goal, which is where most people, I cannot like, it's so funny. Like I see like a hierarchy, right? It's like people jump in at the
Mhm.
goal or they stay at the vision and they don't know how to bring the vision into a number. We need to have a quantifier. And a quantifier is like 20 locations. It is $10,000. It's $100 million, whatever it is, right? Because the reason why is because everything else is subjective. You won't know that you've kind of crossed it and you need a North Star, especially if you have a team that people need to know what they're working towards. So if they're
Mhm.
like, okay, we're working towards this vision of being, the number one health coaching school in the world, right? For women, Okay, great. But we could just say that it's like the number one cheeseburger in Dakota. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
whatever.
my gosh, we used to joke about that all the time where we'd be like,
Yeah,
you see a corner store that literally has a sign that says like, I cut keys and we are also the number one poutine in the
exactly.
city. And we're like,
Yeah,
who says? You say. Nobody says.
exactly.
You say.
Exactly. So
There's no
that
context.
is like a great vision to have this, like, okay, we're going to be global, right? Like, it doesn't need to be quantifiable. It just needs to be like, what would you love to have? Like, I see when we were talking about this, I was like, I see us having this school that's both for coaches, like a school, like I just say, not like a formal school, but like it's an academy that is to help women become coaches, grow their coaching, grow their business. But then having the second stream, because the thing that I really miss is the to client. And that was one of the things we talked a lot about is like we have been focused so much on helping coaches that I want to make a bigger impact in taking these tools that we teach to coaches and helping bring these to the masses, to women who don't want to become coaches but want to coach themselves. And we've talked about this
Yeah.
for years and years. We kind of tried to blend the two, and we're like, but now it's kind of becoming more, again, through these conversations, like it's
We have
becoming more
clarity on how.
clear.
Mhm.
The how is becoming clear because I'm like, I still want that empire. I want Fit Chicks to be, and I'm going to call it right now, and this is us putting it out into the universe. Like, Fit Chicks Academy will be a household brand, not just a name on the internet that people know here and there. We have an amazing community, but we're still very unknown in the bigger masses. Like, I literally want to be like, you go to your Costco and you're going to be able to get Fit Chicks products. You talk about nutrition for women, and Fit Chicks is the number one. Supplements, protein bars, like coaching, education, all of it. And it's all about the mindset and the habits and nutrition. Like it's not just about, oh, eat this or weight loss. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And so when we say, sorry, I was going to loop this back because I know I'm taking over this conversation right now. And Amanda, I know you've got lots to
That's
say about
okay.
this too. But like us telling our team we want that, right? That is a vision. There's no numbers to it. It's very broad. It's very beautiful. And that's where you let your mind, what would I love? You let it go, right? And then you have to bring that into something that as a unit we are working towards. So what does that look like to us? Is it 10,000 people in our academy, right? Or we're going for 10,000 graduates or 10,000 women or we're looking and that's the thing we're going to be sharing with you guys over the next little bit as we come clear on what really aligns for us to get also our team. And then we're going to keep talking about it and talking about it because the only way to you stay focused for it and you keep moving towards it. So like you have to have something that everyone's like, I know that we're not there yet. And I know if this action is moving us towards there or moving us away. So that will be the thing that we're like, okay, do we want to do this partnership? Do we want to launch this new program? Is that going to help us to our goal, our North Star of 10,000 women in the academy?
Mhm.
If not, it's a no. And like
Yeah.
that's the hard part, right? But that's where I really want to talk about this today too, because I think it's so important for us all, whether you have a business or not, to take a step back and stop looking just at your goals and be like, what is my vision? And because the goal is just the tool, you have to create first in your mind of what you would love to have. Or else
Yeah.
you're just gonna start saying you want things, and then one day you're gonna be like, I don't even want this, you're gonna burn it down.
So yeah, so I mean, and adding to that, I just want to say like, so for anyone listening right now, if you're like, okay, I want to create my vision, I want to be able to build this out. Let's just have like some clarity of, when we ask people like, well, what's your vision? They're like, oh, I want to build an 8-week program. That's not your vision. That's an eight
That's
week
the how.
program is the how, right? The vision is to help my community get healthier with health and fitness and nutrition or whatever,
I would
or
help
to
them
help
break the diet
10,
cycle.
exactly, to help people no longer hate themselves through the process of weight loss or whatever. That's your vision because it's like, it's the bigger calling. It's like the voice inside of you that's kind of been telling you, like, this is actually what you're supposed to be doing. And that might not have full clarity yet, but at least you want to think about it in a bigger picture, a broader strokes. All of the other stuff is just the how to get to that place. Those are the
Yeah.
layers upon layers or the steps upon a staircase to reach you to the vision, to get you to that place of where you're actually like meant to speak from and meant
Mhm.
to like show up as, right? So when you're thinking about creating this, just try not to think about the how and just think about, first of all, just why. Like, what is that? Like, what is
And
my bigger picture of like who I want to be in this world? What is my legacy? What is it that I want to create? What is the impact? What do I want to be known for? What is it like that, you know, if someone asks me what I do, it's like, I don't run an 8-week program. No, I run a community that helps women stop diet cycles. That's what
you
you
know what I
do.
just want to say
That's the
though?
vision.
It is. But you know what I want to say? I think sometimes when we ask ourselves those bigger questions, it's hard because a lot of insecurity comes up. So when we use the word legacy,
Mm.
it's like, who am I? Even for me, that I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm leaving a legacy. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big, like, but sometimes it's just as simple as like, what would I love? Like, what would I love to do? When I think about like, what would I love? Like, I would love to create this amazing change in my community, right? Like, if it's too heavy to ask yourself in the sense of like, why? Because that's been my biggest thing. This is why I feel like too, we have not been able to set a vision. I have not been able to set a vision for a long time. It's because I feel like that question is too heavy. And I am like, I don't know. And I don't need to know. I need to know by doing. But when I ask myself from the perspective of like, what would I love to do with my life? Like, what would if I could do anything, what would I love to do? That is what, like, even if I was so rich that I never had to work again, what are the things I would still want to do because I love them? And it would be what I'm doing right now. Like, I still love talking about mindset. I love talking about this stuff. I love talking about nutrition and habits and living your best life. I love business, right? Like, it's the same, literally the same things I talk about now. Because it's the same things you and I, we go for lunch and we talk about these things in relation
I know.
to, if we're not even talking about our business, just about like about the world and what we think about. Like, anyone who meets us is like, it's so crazy. You're exactly like you are in the account. I'm like, well, yeah, like I'm not a different person here than I am. I'm the person at the cocktail party who doesn't like small talk. I'm like, tell me about your life. I want to know everything,
Totally.
like, so
Totally.
it's just, I think for a lot of people, if you feel that heaviness with that question, just what would you love? Like, what would you love? What would you love for an outcome?
And
What would you love for
even
your
even if it's
relationship to look like? What would you like your love for your body? What would you love for your contribution to be? What would you love to be doing every day? And that usually is tied into your vision, right? Like
even if
our
you think
gifts, the
back,
things that we want are part of our calling, the things that we naturally desire. That's what we should be investing our time in, not in, I'm like, for me, I'm suddenly trying to be an administrative, like professional. Like I'm terrible at administration. Every time something breaks, like I was
I
an administrative assistant in my previous life, and it was like my boss, thank God she loved me. She was like, I would fire you 10 times over. Like you were terrible at this stuff. I'm like, shit person. I'm like, sorry. I can't do
no,
the
but I think
details.
but I think too, like if you think back to even like our original conversation when we first started Fit Chicks in 2008, and we sat down and we said, what are we creating? What are we doing? What are we doing
Yeah.
this for? What are we gonna like potentially, shift our entire life to do? What is it that we're creating? And we said we're creating a fitness empire. And those were the words from day one that we used was empire. We were creating an empire. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know how to get there. We didn't know what we dreamt about, all the different things. And we have a book. I actually still have it in my desk and it's called my dream book. And it's like all of the different things that we say that we want to create so that we don't forget along the path.
Mhm.
But everything is about creating this empire. But the empire, it's about, yes, financial freedom. It's about creative freedom. It's about those things, definitely. But it's also about the impact. And I think that that's the thing that has to be the reminder or like the why, like the bigger conversation of like, okay, so we have all of this. We have the creative for freedom and time and, finances and these things. But what is our bigger why? Like, remind ourselves again, what is the empire for? It's not just for us. The empire is for other people too. The empire is actually more so for the people that we're impacting, which then becomes the legacy because now it's like it's the idea behind we're actually creating something that is changing lives, right?
Well, and
And
this,
it cycles back. I was just going to say, like, the interesting thing though is like when we think back to that journey and we say, the how was through our boot camps to be able to offer a new opportunity, a new way of thinking about fitness and health and yourself throughout the journey. That was our vision of how to get to the why of creating this empire. But that part hasn't changed. And
Yep.
that's the cool thing, is that every single thing when we talk about, why are we creating these certifications? Why are we helping people?
Mhm.
Why are we creating these coaching programs or all these things? Why are we giving ourselves a to-do list that is like 17 pages long? And it's like, well, we're doing it because we're trying to help people see a new opportunity for their health, to take control and take accountability for their own health and well-being, to live their healthiest and best life, so that they don't have to struggle with all of the other BS that's in the industry, right? Like, we always knew that we
Mhm.
always called ourselves like the black sheep of this industry, because we were like, we're talking about things in a different way. We're talking about it from a different approach. We're talking about it in a holistic manner from the very jump. And we're talking
Mhm.
about it as like, we're not going to shame you into doing something. We're going to empower you to do it. And that was totally different than what anybody was saying in the industry. And so I think that the how to get to the vision hasn't really changed, and the vision of creating an empire hasn't really changed for us, but it's just about looking at it from reminding ourselves that the equation is also like how it's impacting the world, and then thinking about it from that lens.
Well, and that's where I don't know. And I think one of the things that we really lost along the way, though, was we didn't we didn't revisit what that really looked like. And I know how big this can be. Like when we say this being a household name, like being like Netflix, like a whole women's health, like just across all these different industries. It could be clothing, it could be because it's a lifestyle. Like being a fit chick is not about having a six pack, right? It's not about, you know, being able to do CrossFit box jumps and like there every woman has a fit chick, whether you're 3 years old, whether you're 85. We literally could launch programs for every age group. Like it needs to be a new way. It's a new way to me of empowerment too, of women leading their own health. I'm a
Mhm.
big believer in self commitment and self discipline. Like it's not about you have to, it's because you want to do this. You want to take care of that. And as a coach, you want to be that coach who is empathetic, but you also are holding people to a standard. People want to be held to a standard, right? And that's what I feel like, you know, because that's how we live our lives. And I'm like, our coaches and students, like they are held to a standard as well, and helping women create their standards for themselves and lead their own health. And it's, I think we have not had that conversation in such a long time and then put a quantifier on it because we're like, oh, we're launching these because yes, these certifications and all these things are in line with our vision. But is this going to get us to that household name place? Is this going to get us to the place where we're making the impact where women are actually like doing meetups in their community and being like, I'm a fit chick, you're a fit chick. We're like, you know what I mean? Because it's a way of being. It's not just a brand. It's not Amanda and I. It never has been Amanda and I. That's the thing that's so funny is that, you know, we talk offline a lot about like social media and the personal branding and how we've always kind of struggled with identifying with that. And it's not because we don't know who we are, it's because we always feel like we don't fit into that world. But I realized too, it's because like Fit Chicks has never been about you and me. It's not you and me. It's about all the women in the world who are finding their inner Fit Chick and having the tools to be able to actually implement it and not feel like it's out of their scope and not feeling like it's overwhelming and not feeling like they have to rely on their doctors or the governments or whatever it is to teach them the stuff that they know for their families and for themselves. So
Mhm.
I think that, you know, that's what we're really working on is now taking that into the next step because we don't have the boot camps anymore. And it's not even just about the certifications. It's about some other things. So that will be coming in future podcasts. If you guys are interested in knowing that, definitely drop a comment or message us.
Yeah.
Because we will be talking about it and bringing you guys along because we do have some new things that we are going to be rolling in. And like I said, some things that are going to be going out into the
Yeah, we
vault.
have to make sure that everything, we are committed to our vision, and we're committed to the alignment of having every single one of our milestones be aligned with feeding into that vision. And so but it's an ongoing thing too. And I just want to share this just before we wrap up, is that, you know, if you're someone who's going through this process and you're like, okay, that sounds really cool, and I want us to build this vision and figure out my milestones, it's an ongoing process. And I think that this is the part where we kind of failed it in a way, because we forgot to like revisit it on a regular basis,
Yeah.
versus knowing the importance of staying in alignment with your vision. And staying in alignment with the goals that lead to the vision. So as long
Mhm.
as you are consistently keeping yourself accountable to like look at your vision, pay attention to your vision, and you don't have to like memorize your vision statement. It doesn't have to be like this, like, like the elevator pitch, like back that you learned in like marketing school. It's like, know your vision, know your company overview and all those
But
kinds
it's
of things. Like
true. It's
you
true.
should know your vision,
You should.
but don't feel like it's like, this is it. I've said it once and it has to be that. It's like, it can evolve, it can grow, and it can be consistently a living, breathing thing, as long as that it's moving in the same direction, as long as you are moving in the same direction that you thought, because it will, especially the milestones, they'll evolve. The vision should probably stay the same. The vision for us, like I said, it hasn't really changed. It's always been about helping people change their lives through a different approach of health and
Mhm.
fitness, and educating people, not just giving them the tools, but actually educating them so that they can do it on their own, empowering them with the skills and tools to do it. That's always been our vision. So that really hasn't shifted. It's just the how that keeps like kind of moving around,
Well,
right?
and I think yeah, it's the goal. Like that's the vision is there, and then it's the goal. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like because we want Fit Chicks to live beyond us. So one day that we can pass it off and it is its own business, that it gets, you know,
To our little
taken over
chickens.
by somebody who has the resources to make it even bigger, right? Like that's what we even from day one, though, that's what we've always wanted. Like we want to exit this. We don't just want this to be our life's work and then we die and it closes. We want it to live beyond us. And that's something, it sounds so big and scary and it sounds impossible at times where you're just like, oh my gosh. Amanda and I both were recently watching this entrepreneur and she built this fitness empire and exited for like $90 million. But it wasn't even about the fact of like she's like, I knew I was always going to, the money was always going to be there. It wasn't about the money. It was about building this thing that didn't exist. You know what I mean? And having a legacy and creating something because not many people can create something that can live beyond them. And that's something that because then you're actually shifting a way of
You're
being.
shifting an industry and you're making an impact, a wave that keeps going, right? Like there's a ripple
Yeah.
effect that keeps going from you, as opposed to it just like it hits a wall as soon as you stop, right? You want to have something that you can create. And that's what I mean by legacy is it's like it becomes your legacy, it becomes something that's a living, breathing entity on its own outside of you. And so that's when it becomes this like beautiful thing that keeps just growing and evolving and changing, even though you're not involved anymore. And, you know, I want to be like
Yeah.
in
So
the
you guys
grave
stay
and it's
tuned.
still
Yes.
alive.
Stay tuned for an update from us for our next, where we will be sharing, not next podcast, but it will be coming up in the next few, where we'll be sharing with
Yeah.
you guys kind of some more clarity on what that is for us, what our goals are, our actual measurables and our tangibles, and what it is we are closing, what it is we're opening. And just thank you guys so much for staying with this journey. I was having a conversation the other day with somebody. I was at a cottage and they're like, how long have you had your business for? I'm like, 16 years, which still blows my mind. They're like, what?
Fit would
And
be
I'm like,
driving.
and one of my biggest pieces of advice to anyone who's opening a business is open something again that is part of your vision because you're going to have to talk about it for the rest of your life. Like, it has to be something that feels good to you. And, it's crazy to me to think of all the ebbs and flows, but I've said this and you've said this is that I just feel like we're getting started because throughout
Yeah.
the 16-year journey, we have been working on ourselves, working on our mindset, getting better at our craft. And it's like, it's all been preparation, like it's go time. So, I just feel really grateful that for you, I feel really grateful for everybody who's listening and everyone who's part of our academy and believes in us and, shows up in your communities the way you guys do. And just, yeah, I'm just really excited for what's coming next because I think it's going to be absolutely mind blowing.
I think so too. And I'm so grateful for everything. And, of course, for everyone that's listening right now, like, let us know in the comments, like, tell us, like, what is your vision? We want to
Yeah.
know if this inspired you to think about your business differently, if this inspired you to think about the fact that maybe, your vision wasn't big enough or that it wasn't even clear or you were just having a goal and not a vision. Let us know and let us know what your vision is really going to be, because the whole point even of us doing these podcasts, everything is really just about being able to share our journey, but also be able to expand yours. And so
Yeah.
everything that we do is really about trying to give back as much as we know so that we can help you change your life, change your communities, change your health, change whatever. So we'd love to hear from you. So just comment and let us know. What is your vision?
Yeah. So thank you very much for listening, guys. Of course, if you are brand new to our world, you can check us out at fitchicksacademy.com. There's all of our certifications there, our done for you products, all the things that we help to bring these coaching tools to your communities. And of course, you can check out all of our past podcasts as well at Fit Chicks Chat. So we'll see you guys next week. And I'm really excited to keep this conversation going.
Yeah. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.